Good afternoon, this is Bob Iaccino coming to you from the CME Group trading floor in Chicago, talking energy. Let's talk crude oil. Crude above 68 again. Crude started out the day lower with some of the high build in inventories that we saw, both surprises in the API and in the EIA. The EIA data also showed a build in gasoline and a little bit of a jump in refinery utilization. But then later in the day, as other factors that have been affecting crude oil lately took over, crude oil ended up about a little bit more than 0.75%, near that 68.50 level, not quite at it, but near it on the close. We had a little bit of a supply disruption story, not as big as the 40s pipeline in the North Sea, but it is another North Sea terminal that is shutting down for maintenance. They found a problem with the terminal itself. That terminal handles about 40,000 barrels of product a day, so there's a little bit of a supply disruption there. It's not expected to be down any longer than toward the end of the week. Should be up after the weekend, but still supply disruption. You'll get a little bit of short covering there. You won't necessarily get new longs, but as that story came out, we saw a little bit more of a pop in crude oil. And then lastly, the Iran decision really seems to be taking over crude oil markets lately. We get, as I mentioned, huge builds in inventory, both in crude oil from the API and EIA and the gasoline numbers. But yet with this Iran decision on the nuclear deal signed in 2015, which allowed Iran to again trade on the open markets with their crude oil. And one of the major parts of the sanctions that were lifted in 2015 was the ability of U.S. companies to deal with Iranian banks that dealt in crude oil. So it isn't even so much that they couldn't sell the crude oil necessarily. There was a market for it, but the banks couldn't transact, so the money couldn't really get anywhere, so foreign companies couldn't participate. That decision coming on May 12th, and it seems to be, again, without major news, what crude oil is focused on. So crude oil up again, pretty strong seasonality at play. This is Bob Iaccino talking about a strong crude oil contract from the CME Group trading floor in Chicago.